Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Truth is like gravity. It is self-assertive, proactive. If we drop an object from an airplane, gravity spontaneously pulls it to the ground. Gravity is not reactive, but proactive. A dictionary definition of proactive is creating or controlling a situation by causing something to happen, rather than responding to it after it has happened. Truth is. And we must stand up in truth and live as is, not live as something different, trying to demonstrate is. The Master explains this when he instructs the man sick with palsy to arise, take up thy quilt bed, and walk. The Master's explaining that we must be the spontaneity of truth in order to see and to have truth visibly, tangibly, as our practical reality. We cannot expect truth to react to our needs. Truth is, and we must be that is. We cannot call on gravity to react, to pull our object to the ground, or to keep us all and our important belongings on the ground. Gravity is, and it is the self-assertiveness or proactivity of gravity that we and our belongings live and move and have our beings in that governs our experience. If we believed that we were separate and apart from gravity, it would explain why we are seen attending gravity classes, reading gravity books, meditating on gravity, and sitting in silence hoping that gravity will become evident before it's too late. You can imagine how gravity is laughing, lovingly I'm certain, as it watches all of this going on. Gravity is. We don't have to do anything to have it. And we don't have to stop doing something to get it. We do have it because gravity is. And we can't do anything or know anything or not do something or not know something that changes that truth. Luckily, we accept that gravity is. We're consciously aware of it. So we don't have a gravity problem. Now, God is. Life is. Health is. Wealth is. Love is. Harmony is. Peace is. the law and form of is, which is one, not separate or different, is the only is, the only existence, the only mind, the only body, the only form, the only presence, the only amount, the only experience. We've just accepted a very poor collective interpretation or translation of is. And we have to wake up. We have to interpret or translate truth ourselves, rather than continuing to accept that which humanity and even metaphysicians believe and teach. We have to wake up to, understand, and live by the science of truth. And that science is. God is. Truth is. The law or principle or science of is proactivity, not reactivity. The universe of truth doesn't operate by the laws of physics, of cause and effect, of time and space, of supply and demand, of need fulfilled. Spirit is, good is, fulfillment is, the presence of all good is, and that includes form. Good and form are one. I and form are one. God and form are one. Nothing of God is absent, and because God and form are one, no form of good is absent. Now, realize, truth and the visibility of truth, being one, has no law but itself, which is the law of is. And that law must exist in us throughout, as our entirety. We cannot evidence is if we have is within and is not without. We cannot evidence is if we're not being is. We cannot evidence is if we are not the oneness of is, the omnipresence of is, the very law and presence and activity of is, in, out, and throughout. We cannot evidence is if we study truth, meditate on truth, and sit in silence, believing that this spiritual effort and activity will make truth manifest. We cannot evidence is if we wait, after studying, meditating, and sitting in silence, for our health to now appear, or our healing, our wealth to now appear, our business success to now appear, love and compassion to now appear, peace in the world to now appear. Truth is, and already is. Whatever good we believe we're waiting for is already here. We must be truth in order to witness truth. We must be the proactivity of truth. Then we witness the results, which are the forms of health, abundance, love, peace, and harmony. But these forms are present now, just as gravity is present now. But it's only as we proactively live in and by truth that they become corporeally evident. It's as if we release and free or unblock our corporeal sense, when we know the truth and proactively live it. Saint Luke recounts the Master explaining this, and it's pretty clear. This is Luke 6:38. And we all know it, but let's now really hear it. Give, and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down, and shaken together, and running over shall men give unto your bosom. With the same measure that ye mete withal, it shall be measured to you again. And Lamsa's translation of this sentence is, for with the measure that you measure, it will be measured to you. I think that's clearer. Now, it doesn't say that good shall be given to us and then we should give of what we've received. It says, give, and then it shall be given to us. With the measure that you measure, it will be measured to you. We could paraphrase the Master's instruction by using our metaphor. Give to gravity, and gravity shall be given to you. Good measure, pressed down, in fact taken down, drawn down, and shaken together, and running over shall gravity give unto your world. For with the measure that you live proactively with gravity, it shall be measured to you. Or we can think of the mirror. Give to the mirror. Step in front of the mirror, and the mirror shall give to you. Good measure, pressed down and shaken together, and running over shall the mirror give you imagery. For by the measure that you proactively give to the mirror, step in front of the mirror image shall be measured to you. Now, hear the Master again. Arise, take up your quilt bed, and walk. This is to the man suffering with palsy. Sick, believing that he's unable to get up and had better stay in bed. Nothing else does the Master say, but arise, take up your quilt bed and walk. And he explains later that there's no difference between saying this and saying, you are healed. You see, if we are sick, but we know the truth, and we now proactively live in and as and by truth, then we can trust that as we step forward in truth, truth has no choice but to step forward in us. Life fills us and dissipates any sign of illness, disease or injury as we arise, take up our quilt beds and walk. Take up our condition just as it seems to be to us at this moment, and walk in truth, trusting that truth is the only actuality of you, and anything seemingly untruthful has no actuality, no power, no form, no place in you. It cannot live in you. As you get up and walk off in truth. Just as gravity spontaneously embraces any object placed in it and draws it to the ground, so life spontaneously embraces, wells up and floods and animates our body, leaving no trace of disease or injury, as we refuse to be hoodwinked by belief and appearance, and even by suffering and pain, as difficult as it is sometimes, and stand up in life. Stand up as life, as the God being we truly are, and walk on. As we stand up and walk through the appearance of disease or injury, suffering, even pain, as the God we actually are, lowercase g, the God being we actually and literally are. We may not be very stable. We may still have pain. We may still be very uncomfortable, and we may still feel some fear around it. But if we can muster just enough strength and mobility to stand up, despite the appearance or despite the experience, the pain, the discomfort, in truth, as the very body and being of spirit, and walk on, we'll find that the disease or the injury has no abiding place within us and dissolves. Its abiding place has only ever been our belief in it, and our fear of it, and our waiting for it to heal as we study truth, meditate, sit in silence. Well, we've all discovered that that doesn't work very well. But the moment we become proactive in truth, truth is proactive with us by the same measure. Whatever the problem seems to be, however serious and urgent it is, however seemingly overwhelming it is spontaneously healed and harmonized and quickly evident as being so to our corporeal sense the very minute we truly know the truth. As the Master said, know the truth and the truth will make you free. And stand up in that truth, refusing to be bound by the belief and the appearance, even the experience of the sickness or the disease we're suffering, and walk on in truth. We still study, we still come to classes, we still meditate on the message of truth, we still bathe in the silence, feeling God happening as us. We still devote ourselves for definite periods in the day to God, to the truth of ourselves, our bodies, our worlds. But we do one thing differently, if we haven't been doing it already, and that is to be proactive as truthful being, to trust truth as much as we trust gravity, to know that gravity is right here and everywhere, and to know that truth is right here and everywhere. And as soon as we walk in it, it walks in us. As soon as we trust it, and go ahead and walk, then it opens up its universe and pours blessings to us, as Malachi describes, that we quickly find we have not enough room to receive. But it is that proactivity of us that opens Malachi's windows, opens the windows of heaven, enabling truth to pour through so fast, so beautifully, so bountifully, that indeed we have not room enough to receive it, and all that we are left to do is to give it to the world. Give the infinity of God, of life, of love, of truth to the world, so that the world can have it too. God is wealth, abundance, supply. We mustn't be afraid of what appears to be an insufficiency of dollars. What appears to be an inability to pay this month's bills, pay this month's mortgage, to meet all the financial demands being made upon us. Don't be afraid of these appearances. There's no more truth to them than there is truth to a lack or an insufficiency or an inability of gravity. Gravity is, and truth is, which means that wealth is. The fulfillment of all money and all financial affairs is. It exists right now, right here. It exists throughout your entire life. Family, business. No form of wealth is absent. No money is absent. It may appear to be, but why is that? That's because we're looking materially. We're believing that which seems to be. Well, go back to our last class. In the desert with the Master, where exactly this appearance hit up against the disciples' consciousness. The appearance of a great, great lack of food, when there were probably 15 or 20,000 people, including women and children, who were now hungry at the end of the day. And to the disciples' sense of awareness, or the disciples' belief, the only solution was to either send the crowd home so that they could buy or get food from their homes, or for the disciples to go into town, buy this huge amount of food and cart it back to the desert where the multitudes could eat. But to the Master, food is. We don't have to go somewhere to get food. Food already is. The very forms of food already are. In the most real and practical way. And all he had to do was rest in this realization. Be proactive. Go and read the account again, or listen to the class again. When he told the crowd to sit down and be ready to eat, while the appearance was still that there were only these few loaves and fish. Just enough to feed maybe the 12 of them, but not 15 or 20,000 people. Sit down, he says, get ready to eat. He looks to heaven. He blesses the food. and begins to hand it out to the disciples with the instruction that they should start handing it out to the crowd. There it is, the proactivity of truth, the trust, more than trust, the knowing that truth and all its fulfilled form, no matter what we call that fulfilling form, in this case it's food, is present, and an infinity and omnipresence of it is present as real and actual form. So all we have to do is be the proactivity of it instead of sitting around waiting for it to appear before we start handing it out to the crowd. And it's that very proactivity that opens up the window of heaven, opens up the visibility of all the food that's needed, and all the 20,000 or so people eat and are satisfied. And in fact, there's so much food that 12 baskets full are left over. Now, the same with money. Don't believe appearance. Don't worry, my friends. You're never lacking a perfect sufficiency of money. And in fact, as you learn now to be proactive with money, you will discover that there are 12 baskets full of money left over each and every day, or each and every week, or each and every month. It really doesn't matter. Hear the Master again. Give, and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down and shaken together, and running over, shall the world, give unto your bosom. For with the same measure that ye meet withal, it shall be measured to you again. Or Lamsa's translation, for with the measure that you measure, it will be measured to you. Give whatever money you have. Start giving it. Start paying some bills. Pay your smallest bill if that's all that appears to be here right now. That's exactly the same as the Master giving the first, 2 fish and 5 or 7 loaves of bread to the disciples with the instruction to start giving them to the people. So those 2 fish and 5 or 7 loaves could only feed, let's say, 2, 3, 4 people. Nevertheless, that is what the Master instructed the disciples to start doing. And so it was done. There's the giving. Give. And now what happens? It shall be given to you. The windows of heaven open. In other words, the visibility of all the fulfilling spiritual food becomes tangible, becomes a corporeally sensed form, which is then given and given and given and never stopped being given until everyone has eaten and everyone is satisfied, and there's even 12 baskets full left over. Give of, if this is all you have right now, according to appearance, the little money you have. Start paying even one small bill. In truth, realizing that this proactivity is exactly the same as you dropping an object into gravity, and it's spontaneously embracing that object and drawing it to the ground. Truth spontaneously embraces your proactivity in truth by giving of even the little money you have, and spontaneously opens the windows of visible spiritual form so that you can keep on giving. Again, don't wait now until you have enough to pay all your bills. It'll never happen. Keep giving of even the little you seem to have, and that activity is that which keeps the windows of heaven open and keeps the spiritual visibility alive in your sense, so that you have the actual form of money, that which to material sense you call real money, The real money is spirit, not matter, but to material sense you now have, or we now have, the real money, which to corporeal experience we can continue to satisfy our financial demands with. Stay in truth all the while. Spend more time pondering this truth, the truth of the omnipresence of God, of the isness of God, of the truth that God and form are one, therefore there's no absence of any good form. All good form is present and visible right where you are. And it's this proactivity, stepping forward in truth, acting in truth, trusting truth, just as much as you trust gravity or more. This is God we're speaking of. But as an example, trusting in gravity is a good one. So just as much as you trust gravity, trust truth, trust the visibility of all good form, and be proactive, and then watch the windows of heaven open wide. And be the visible form, the real and practical form of, in this case, money, which, as you keep giving, is never ending. Do the same with love. If there seems to be a lack of love in your life or your relationship, don't believe that appearance. It isn't true. The very form of love is right here, is infinite, is omnipresent, is unconditional, is free. Stand up in love, knowing that there is no absence of the very form of love in your life. Never. And be proactive in love. Start giving love. Start being more loving. Don't wait until there appears to be more love from your partner, from your husband or wife, from your friends, or from the bank manager. Don't do it. It won't happen until we are proactive in love, until we know that we are the form of love in our experience, and are then proactive in love. Then watch love give itself to you as, or appearing to be, your husband, your wife, your partner, your friend, and your bank manager. And we should include your employees, your students, your customers, everyone. Just watch how everyone opens up lovingly as you are there with them, when you are being the love you expect to see. Of course, someone, either listening now or maybe in the future, might say, well, I have no money. I really haven't. I'm out. So how can I start giving money? Well, two things. One, let's say you're down to your last dollar or your last 50 cents. Well, give half of that dollar away. Give 25 of that 50 away. In truth, knowing this truth, and if you haven't even got $1 or 50 cents, then go through your closet and start giving away something. Maybe something that you don't wear too much. Immediately give it away so that it's somebody else's to benefit by. Give a coat away, perhaps, so that somebody who doesn't have a coat can keep warm in the winter. Give a pair of shoes away so that someone can have some shoes. Give socks away. Give a hat away. Give anything away. So that, and you can do the same with books, with CDs, with anything you have around the house, just so that you start the proactivity of truth. And in that very way you watch as you now stay in truth. Certainly stay listening to the classes, meditating with the truth of the message, sitting in silence, simply devoting yourself, not to you, not to your body, not to your world, not to your finances, not to your relationship, not to your business, not to your family, not to your home, not to anything about you, but to God, for God. Then you watch how the miracle of God that you've now sparked because of your proactivity in giving at least something or a few little things away so that others can benefit, you watch how the miracle of truth is now opened and becomes visible and real to you in the forms of all and any particular fulfillment that is needed. It's infallible. It is the law or the principle, the science of truth, of is. We have to be and act as is, in, out, and throughout. Well, now, where is there somewhere left that isn't being is? There isn't anywhere left. And because is and form are one, there isn't anywhere left in your entire experience, in your entire existence, that lacks good form. And you'll witness this as you are continually, daily, hourly, proactive in truth. As your whole mode of living is to give, to serve, to share. Because you see, as you know this truth, your whole desire, your whole impulse is to give as much as you possibly can, because in doing so, you are revealing more and more, and then able to give more and more, and in that way be the life of the world, be the good of the world, be the spirit of the world, be that health, that wealth, that freedom, that love of the world. There's no greater mode of living. There's no greater purpose fulfilled. There's no greater bliss. The euphoria felt of giving, being the giving self. Knowing that the giving self is the God self. The giving self is the God state of being, proactive. There's no greater thing, there's no greater experience, there's no greater fulfillment. Life isn't about us. Life is about God. Life is God. And there's no us in God. There's no personal self in God. There's no personal body or personal condition, personal finances, personal business, personal family, home, personal anything in God. There's only God. We have to be the God of our universe in order to see the good that God is as our universe. We have to be rid of this personal sense of self, because it's only the personal sense of self instead of the God sense of self that hinders us, that is filled with belief, that believes appearance, and then is imprisoned by that appearance. It's only the personal self that can suffer. The God self never suffers. And you see, everything that the personal self experiences, all its good and all its bad, is nothing to do with truth. Nothing to do with God. And so, if the personal self still exists within our sense, we have no God sense, and so it's very, very difficult to be proactive in truth, if not near impossible. We have to fill ourselves so full of God, of the principle, the science that is God, that is the truth of existence, that all personal sense has dissipated. There's really none of us left. And only God exists in us. And then watch how easy, how natural it is to be proactive in truth, because there's nothing for us to achieve when we're filled with God realization. All is, and all we're doing is being proactive in is. We have no sense of need, no sense of desire. We are the proactive isness of experience, and all is witnessed fulfilled. The personal sense is like a lens that darkens or distorts or gives us a false imagery, that's best, of what actually is, which is God. Fulfillment. You will agree that if we put a coloured lens in front of a light, what we get is coloured light. You will agree that if we paint an image on a lens and place that lens in front of a light, that image appears on the other side of the lens. Well, this is what the personal sense of self is like. It is an image. In fact, Paul called it the glasses dark. I see, but I see through glasses darkly. Through the lens of personal sense, I'm seeing false imagery of that which actually is God. And as soon as I see false imagery, I have both good and bad imagery and no God form whatsoever. Now, this explains why, even in truth, even after studying, meditating, sitting in silence, for years or decades, we still have our problems. We still have problems which will not yield. We still have our ill health, or our lack or limitation, or our problems with relationship, our problems with business, whatever it may be, our problems with family. They don't go away even as we continue to listen to these very high and beautiful classes we're being given, as we meditate on these beautiful truths, and as we sit in silence, feeling all that peace happening within, there our problems still are in the so-called outer. The reason is, well, let's say there are two reasons after tonight's clarity. One, and this really is the biggest problem we face, and that is the personal sense of existence. We have I, me, mine going on. I have a problem of illness or disease. I have a problem with my money. I have a problem with my business. I have a problem with my family, my neighborhood, and so on. And so it becomes mine, and I'm going to truth to try to solve my problems. And I believe that I know when I have enough truth because my problems will be healed. No, it doesn't work like that. And so understand that when that lens of personal self is removed, when our sense of self really has almost gone, and we are filled full of God sense, then there's no abiding place for illness, disease, lack, limitation, insecurity, whatever it may be. Because now our lens is clear, and so what we see as all the forms of our body and our finances and our family and our business and our world is God. And because God is fulfillment, we see real and practical fulfillment. Now hear that and hear it very deeply and meditate with it. Walk around day and night with it, contemplating its truth, so that you become free of any remaining personal self or sense, and in that way be free in God, free in spirit and fulfilled form. Now, the second reason is what we're hearing tonight, and that is our belief that we will be reactive when our health is evident, when we have sufficient money, when our family becomes harmonious and loving, when our business starts becoming prosperous, and so on. It cannot happen for the reasons we've heard tonight. We must now, as the selfless self, the God self, stand up and be proactive in truth. We must trust the actuality of God and all the good form that is God, that is never absent, so much so that we, right in the middle of our disease and even our pain and our suffering, stand up the best we can. And if we cannot stand up, then be proactive right here in our beds as best we can in life, in truth. Stand up, literally or figuratively, in life, and start being lively. Arise, take up thy quilt bed and walk. Don't believe the prison of illness or disease. It isn't real, it has no power, it has no form, it even has no abiding place in you, and you watch how quickly it is proven so the minute you stand up and walk in truth. Same with finances. Stand up even if you have very, very little money, and it seems as if you can't even pay one of the 20, the 30, the 50 bills that are pressing this month. Never mind, it is appearance only. It has no truth to it whatsoever. All the money you need is right here, right now, and is perfectly visible. But realize, all form, including money, and to step back, including the body, is spiritual form. And the only reason it appears to be diseased or lacking or limited is because we've believed the material sense of it as being something in and of its own self. Now then, we're lifting away and leaving behind material sense and personal sense into spirit, and realizing that no good form is absent. And so now, realizing that no form of money, no amount of money is absent from this very place you stand, be proactive. Start giving away your money. Start paying some bills. Start giving a little to your favorite cause. In truth, in the realization of truth, trusting that all forms of money, an infinite amount of money, is right here where you are, and it is as you are proactive with it that the windows of it open up and enable you to see the spiritual form, which to corporeal sense, in this case, is the reality of money, so that you can start giving it freely, paying all your bills freely, giving to your favorite causes freely, without any fear, without hesitancy, and you will discover that money never runs dry or is never limited and is always fully present, to the tune, usually, of much more left over than is needed to meet demands. And the same with love, and the same with every aspect of existence. I think that's our message for tonight. Let's sit still together. Well, I think we've just had a life-changing class, and I thank you with all my love for it. Thank you.